This is a cricketing podcast brought to you by four blokes who like to think they know a bit about cricket. I'm Ed, and I follow the Kolkata Knight Riders, Sydney Sixers, and the Southern Brave in the new edition of the 100. I'd like to introduce to you below me, Ross.
My name's Ross, avid Mumbai Indian fan, love my Adelaide Strikers, love my Oval Invincibles with the great logo. Come on.
Hi, my name's Roy, or Royston, whatever you want to call me. I am a massive Rajasthan Royals fan, always have been since we won the first one. And I am also a huge, and first and foremost, really, Notts Outlaws fan.
Hi, I'm Rob, also a Notts Outlaws fan, being from Nottingham. Unfortunately, a Melbourne Stars fan, which gets me a lot of stick off you guys. CSK in the IPL, but the one I'm actually looking forward to most is the Trent Rockets.
We want to bring you some enlightening content. We have a Facebook group up and running where we'll be able to speak to us directly, let us know. We'll gather our content based on your interactions, and we hope you enjoy our content. Right, let's dive into our first topic of the day, which is the third test out of four in Ahmedabad. It's been the pink ball test. It's been a very short one. Lots of criticism, of course, in the pitch. It was the shortest completed match since 1935.
First of all, I would like to just say, what an absolute shambles. I could not believe that after 2 days in a 5-day test, that game was over. You know, you did actually hit the nail on the head there. You said it's actually since 1935, the shortest test. There's actually only ever been, I did find a stat, there's been 22 tests that have finished inside 2 days out of a total of 2,412 tests ever played. So that just tells you, I'm absolutely fuming. I've got to be honest. I'm fuming with the pitch. I'm fuming with the whole game. I'm fuming with India's comments. I'm fuming with everything. However, I would like to defend Joe Root. He picked what he thought was best. And Joe Root has come on leaps and bounds as a captain over the last year. His batting average is now slowly going up with runs in Sri Lanka and obviously in the first 2 tests in India. So, yeah, I actually agree. He wasn't to know with the spinners. And I would just like to say that after that match, I am going to be saying that Joe Root has got to be a best all-rounder in the world because his batting average is sky high. He took 5 wickets in his first innings. So, yeah, we'll leave it with that. But, Roy, what do you think? I mean, that really was a stinker, wasn't it? It was horrible.
I am of the firm belief that this was nothing to do with the pitch. Controversial or not, obviously, I'm not one to sit on the fence when it comes to my beliefs. There was nothing wrong with the pitch. It was poor technique. It was poor technique from England from start to finish. Regardless of what team you pick, regardless of whether we pick more spinners than seamers, it made no difference. 21 out of 30 wickets were from straight deliveries. Bat straight, play the shots, play the ball on its merit. Why are you playing for turn? Every single shot we was trying to play for, we was playing for spin. Well, guess what? There was no spin. So we was completely outfoxed by the fact that our technique and mentality just wasn't good enough. And even Sharma after said it himself. He said at the end of the day, at one point they were, what were they, 100? I think they were 100 for free, and they finished 150 all out. So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think we can blame the pitch at all. Controversial or not, I don't blame the pitch. I don't think the pitch was a problem. I think it was literally poor technique and a mentality going into the game.
They put wickets in the middle of a field that they didn't have a groundsman for. Like, there's no way that there was any groundsman in that pitch that did anything.
Yeah, it
looked like it had been played on for about 100 days before prior. That was a 5th day pitch on day one.
I want to just back up what Roy said, actually. I've actually written down a couple of things. So first of all, in the first innings, Rohit hit 66 runs, which means it was possible to bat. And also, Zach Crawley, 53 runs. So, I mean, it wasn't a complete minefield. We have seen tests where before where batsmen haven't even got into double figures on both sides. So that's what you call a minefield.
England expected India to spin a web around England. Let's get it straight. There was no spin and no deviation. It was a straightforward pitch. All you had to do was defend. Why can't we understand that sometimes defence is better than attack? Why can't we get that? By now, these players should be... I mean, obviously, we've got a few youngsters playing there that have still got to learn their trade. And this is why I'm all for the fact that we've got this rotation policy, because I like to see these players tested in places like India. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's go and get a battering in India and test out these new players. Brilliant.
England also as well. They did go from 74 for free to 112 all out, and India went from 98 for free to 145 all out. So the top order generally fired in the first innings, and then it was just everything else didn't. They all crumbled. So yeah, that's just something worth noting.
Going back
when have we known Axar Patel to turn up and bowl like that? Do you know why he bowled like that? Because he's just a simple wicket-to-wicket bowler, and that's what took wickets. There was no deviation. He's not a big turn of the ball. It was his arm ball. His stock arm ball delivery took that many wickets. It's ridiculous. The technique was awful, absolutely awful.
On the selection issues and the fact of the spin has been crucial for India this latest test. I asked the question at the start whether England made a mistake bringing in 3 seam bowlers in Anderson, Broad, and Archer, and would for instance, Don Bess be a good name to bring in to add to that spin department?
I think he has to be. How can you not? When you've got a pitch with where 28 out of 30 wickets is done by spin, regardless of spin or deviation or not, how can you not bring in an extra spinner? I think for me, you would probably have to leave out. It would have to be one of Broad or Anderson, because you need Archer in there. You need, if say we turn up at the next test and spin isn't working, let's just say it's a completely different wicket, you still need your 90-mile-an-hour gun bowler.
Can do the business with the bat as well. Out of those 3,
I don't think there's going to be very many more tests where you're going to see Broad and Anderson in the same lineup. To be honest, Anderson needs too much rest to get himself up for another test match. I know this one was quite short, but Anderson's age is against him. Obviously, Broad's a little bit younger, but I don't think there's going to be many more where you're going to see them together, to be honest. But I think England should bring another spinner in.
Yeah. So we're going.
But the only thing I do want to talk about this rotation, though, if we can, because it's horrendous to like this rotation system we've got. I can understand you need to rotate players, especially like Anderson, who can't play every test. But they're bringing in young players, which is great. But they're not just bringing in young players; but they're not also rotating the experienced players. So you've got 3 or 4 of your best players out every test, playing with inexperienced players. It's just, honestly, how can we expect to get anything from a test match in India? But then is that what we're going to do then? We're going to be a Mickey Mouse team that just rotates all the time, brings in these youngsters, and we can just say, oh yeah, okay, well, go on and do your best, and let's see how you're doing, and maybe in 3 years we might be half a decent team. Because that's all that's going to happen. We're going to do that in the Ashes at the end of the year.
The thing is, at the minute, we're obviously in very strange circumstances with COVID, and you've got to understand that obviously mental health is a huge part right now of sport, and obviously it's in the media all the time, and it's something that has to be focused on. And Moeen Ali, for instance, he excluded himself. It wasn't he was sent home; he was excluded himself because he couldn't take any more being, because obviously he had COVID himself, didn't he, before the Sri Lanka test?
Well, he's a perfect example.
Yeah.
He's a perfect example. He didn't play in any of the Sri Lanka games, but yet he was in the squad and he was there. Why did he go to that? If he was going to get taken out of the later in the test series, like in India, why even go to Sri Lanka if we're not going to play him? Why does he not have his rest then? And then he can come and join a team when we go to India, and one of the other players can have their rest then. It was ridiculous that he even went to Sri Lanka because it meant that the last test that we were about to play, Moeen Ali's not playing in it. He's going to go home and have a rest before the IPL. Well, why did he not have that rest at the start of the series in Sri Lanka?
Yeah,
and have one of your best and most experienced players in the team in the India game. So now we're rotating, like we're saying, we're rotating one of our best players out of the team.
But you've also claimed there that Moeen Ali is one of our best. Since when was Moeen Ali one of our best?
Over the last year, he's really come back into form. You can't say that.
The experience Moeen Ali has.
He's experienced and he can bat. Leach and Best. I know you think Leach can bat, but he's done 1 or 2 good games and that's it. Moeen Ali can actually bat.
Yeah, I would trust Moeen Ali with a bat over Leach, definitely.
And he's more experienced. Leach and Best might be better than him in a few years to come, but right now he's got the experience and he can bat.
So when these big matches come up against the likes of India, which is huge for these players, we're talking on the scale of almost like the Ashes. That's how serious this is.
Yeah.
How would you do it then? You would just have one youngster in and all experience. How does that work?
You can have. But if you're gonna have players in that haven't got much experience, like Sibley, Crawley, Lawrence, that's fine. They're probably 3 of our better batsmen now. So if they're going to be in, then the rest of the players need to be more experienced. So for example, in the first test, we didn't have Butler, Ali, or Burns in it. So we had 3 of our best, more experienced players out. In the second game, we had no Anderson, Burstow, or Archer. So we had 3 of our best players out there. And in the third game, we had no Burstow, Broad, or Moen. So
Yeah.
you can't have it both ways. You can't have Lawrence, Sibley, Crawley, and these other players that aren't experienced, and then also rotate your best players out. It's one or the other, not both.
I get that, but the rotation policy has been brought in by the ECB alongside Joe Root to protect the players' mental health during COVID.
Yeah.
That's as simple as that.
Great. So leave Moeen Ali at home then for the Sri Lanka tour.
Without COVID existing completely, that team would have been completely different.
Yeah. But leave Moeen Ali at home then for the Sri Lanka tour.
I think Rob, the Moeen Ali situation wasn't helped by the fact that he was the only player to test positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had to isolate.
Yeah, he had to isolate anyway. I think for me, the Moeen Ali thing's a bit strange because he just got brought up in the IPL. So it's like he was in India anyway. Obviously, he smashed that quick, was it 48 or 15 or something on the second test. So it was almost like bang, bang, bang. Look what I can do. Oh, yeah, see you later, guys. I'm going home for a rest. Like,
I do.
I don't know. It's weird.
I do feel that, yeah. Would any of you put any more sort of blame then on Moeen Ali for England's poor third test? Him leaving the squad in the way that he did, for seemingly what it could look like from the outside. Oh, I've done my job for the IPL auction. Ended up getting picked up for a bit of money.
No, that's not what happened though. The ECB, the selectors already said that he wasn't playing the fourth test. He didn't say that he wanted to go home. That was a misquote by Root in the media. That's not what happened. They already said he wasn't playing the fourth test. This is the other problem that Root's got, is the selectors was kind of doing his job for him. They're saying that you can't have these players, you've got to rotate all these players. His hands are tied. He can't. There's no wiggle room for when things like this do happen. When someone gets COVID, you can't send them home and say, okay, you have the next 3 tests off. Like, spend time with your family. You have to physically keep them in the squad, and then this happens where he plays 1 test and then goes home. Even though this will be our 6th test over these 2 series.
Breaking news in the last 24 hours is that Chris Wokes has left the squad, having not featured in any of the tests, not in Sri Lanka, not in India so far, and also Jasprit Bumrah is also out of the 4th test for personal reasons. I'm not sure if you know about that, Ross. Sorry, but will it change India's fortunes at all? How important has he been?
Well, we all know that Jasprit Bumrah's an absolute T20 gun, specialist ODI as well. His limited record speaks for itself. His test, I think in the first test, he took a fair few wickets. I'm pretty sure the England batsmen were a bit scared of him in the first test, even though we won that test and the second one as well. So with the third test being absolutely dominated by spin, you would say that the third test, it almost just like Broad Anderson and Archie. He wasn't so I think that if we are going to be taking the 4th test in Ahmedabad and Bumrah's not there and it's another spin-friendly pitch, I don't think he'll be that missed, if I'm being really honest. And also with Bumrah as well, I mean, he has got the IPL in about 5 weeks, and that for him is his bread and butter. I know that everyone always says the test team is the ultimate, and yes, it is, but the test team doesn't pay your wages like the IPL does, and everyone knows that Bumrah is an absolute gun. Mm-hmm. And everyone knows that he's Mumbai's best bowler. He's my best bowler, and I love my Bumrah, but for this, I don't think he'll be much of a miss in this test, if I'm being really honest.
And with 5 T20 games to go after this and 3 one-day internationals, it gives us a chance to see what these Indian and England heavy-hitting, limited overs batsmen and bowlers can do. I think that's going to be good. The selection's going to be interesting. And that's coming up for a later episode, once we got the team news out and who's going to bat where. Has anyone got anything else to add on the test match?
Well, it's nice getting used to these poor conditions, if that's what we're going to have to deal with in the T20 World Cup at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we will, actually. I think the pitches will be a bit better for that.
Thank you for listening. This has been the latest episode of our podcast. The only last thing to mention is that the 100 draft also went ahead this week. Some stellar names in there as well, but we're not going to mention too much of that because it's not the most important at the moment. We've got the IPL coming up, a couple of ODIs for England and T20, so that's going to be the main focus of our content moving forwards. We hope you have enjoyed the show. I have been Ed.
I'm Ross.
I'm Royston.
I'm Rob.
And thank you for listening.